I started working for the NBA for 9 years.
What would your advice be to young individuals who want to break into the fashion industry?
Instead of you pouring out of your cup to other people so that your cup is empty, she said, give them from the overflow. Don't be afraid to network. Go out there, go to events, introduce yourself, tell people about you. During the pandemic, 72% of women across Canada were either laid off or let go from their job.
Welcome to the Tenzin show, where we speak of all things success and positivity. And we will also unravel the journeys of extraordinary individuals. Today we have with us a very special guest indeed. It's Klaudia Zinaty. Klaudia, welcome to the Tenzin show.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here.
I'm enthralled to have you on. And you've positioned your own status quo as an entrepreneur, as a media mogul, fashion expert. You've been in the media space for over 15 years now?
I have.
Yeah. And you are the president and founder of Women Empowerment Awards. The kind of work that you've done, it's truly incredible. Former regional director of the Fashion Group International Toronto, and a professor in fashion business marketing, media, and public relations. And prior to that, you were also a mathematics professor. Fraction to fashion. Yeah. Amazing. So I am truly intrigued to learn about your journey and what sort of accelerates you to thrive in any role that you take.
Yeah, I think, you have to have a passion for it. I think I'm open to a lot of opportunities. So when I started out, I actually started out as a math teacher. And then I had an opportunity along the way to work for the National Basketball Association. So I had never played basketball in my life. I didn't know much about the sports industry, but it was a very unique opportunity. And I thought, you know what? It's a great learning experience. So I started working for the NBA for 9 years. And then I went into broadcasting, and then I went into publishing. So I think, part of the reason with people thriving is that you have to be open to opportunities, even if it's not something that you may necessarily be an expert in or something that you may have expected to be in. But the learning that you get from it is what brings you to the next level and to the next level. So every single role that I've ever done in my career has really been a stepping stone to the next. And everything that I've walked away with has provided me the skill set that has helped me in my next part of my career. So I think it's really important, and you have to be passionate about what you love doing. So, I love teaching, which is why I'm a professor, and I love to teach the next generation of young minds in all different areas, and being able to give them the insights and my personal experience, bringing in people from my industry as mentors, or being able to give them, firsthand knowledge that maybe I wouldn't have been able to receive as a student. So I really try to be able to give as much real life experience as possible. And the other thing too is being able to give back. Like, I'm very big on paying it forward. So I think that's also really important in terms of thriving, is not just doing things for your own self, which is important to do things for your own self growth and being able to challenge yourself, but also to be able to give back in some way.
Indeed, that is beautiful. And as you mentioned, experience never goes to waste. You
Never.
can always apply your skills anywhere you like.
Absolutely.
Having said that, I wanted to delve a little deep into understanding who Klaudia is as a person, because we know Klaudia as a professional, this boss lady. But who is Klaudia as a person? And looking back, in hindsight, what were your aspirations like, and who is little Klaudia?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I always loved fashion as I was a kid. And I'll tell you a full circle moment for me. So when I was really young, I loved fashion. And I was that girl that would go to school every day, and she would match her socks with her earrings, and she'd have her scrunchie and, accessories. And so when neon was in, I was the girl that would buy all the neon accessories. And when I would see things in fashion magazines, I'd go to Michael's and Fabricland, and I would buy the rhinestones and the studs, and I would hand glue it myself because, my parents were, my dad was a mechanic. My mom was a stay-at-home mom. So we couldn't afford buying the high-end things. So I would always make things at home. And so I was always into that kind of fashion thing. And every Sunday, I would say to my parents, do not bother me. I'm watching fashion television with Jeannie Becker. And so I used to watch fashion television all the time growing up. So when I graduated from school, I wanted to become a fashion designer. And my mom and dad were like, we know you love fashion, but you have to remember, this is like 20 plus years ago. The fashion industry isn't the way that it is now with influencer marketing and the opportunities and sustainability. And, it wasn't as big. There wasn't as many opportunities. So at the time, my parents said, we know you love this, but we also want you to have something to fall back on. So the other thing that I loved doing was teaching. So I decided to go with the route of teaching, and I loved mathematics. I was very strong in STEM. So I wanted to be able to be a role model for other young girls that wouldn't raise their hands to answer math questions and were too shy. And I wanted them to feel confident in the STEM industry. So I was like, I'm going to be a role model in terms of showing them that, hey, a woman can be strong in mathematics and she can teach. So I decided to become a math teacher. And, where it became a full circle moment is, as I mentioned to you, with all the different paths that I took, when I got into publishing, my publishing was for a fashion magazine, and loved it. It was Flair magazine. And as soon as that world opened up again, my love for fashion came back. And so I started going to runway shows and started to get more involved in the fashion industry. And so afterwards, I decided that I really wanted to pursue things on my own. So once I left Flair magazine, I just decided to take on projects and different opportunities that I was really interested in and that I felt strong about. So I started working with different companies, and then I actually even started up my own fashion institute. So I have the Institute of Fashion, which I created as an entrepreneur, and it was all just to give back to the fashion industry. And then I became the head of Fashion Group International Toronto, which is a nonprofit organization that helps support entrepreneurs in the fashion industry. So my full circle moment for me was when I was the head of Fashion Group International. We do what we call we do an awards where we give out once a year to people who've really made a strong impact in the industry. And one of the people that I wanted to recognize was the person that was a mentor to me in the fashion industry, which was Jeannie Becker. So we actually invited her to receive the award, and I got to interview her. So when I tell you, that to me was a huge honor and full circle moment. It was like the person in that little Klaudia used to sit in front of the TV, with her legs crossed every Sunday watching fashion television and watching her interview people. And here I was on stage interviewing someone that I looked up to my whole life. About the fashion industry, and hearing her stories with Karl Lagerfeld and, with all these amazing designers and Alexander McQueen. That was a full circle moment for me. So that's something I've always been interested in. And, even doing things with Women Empowerment Awards. I mean, it's such a amazing initiative. I'm so proud of it. It really is my heart and soul. And one of the things that I love is that I'm able to integrate kind of the fashion industry in there, because, like, for example, this past year, our Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, as part of her award, also received a $9,000 gown by Revenge designer Jordan Stewart. So it's just beautiful to be able to do those types of collaborations and integrations. But yeah, my love for fashion will always stay with me. And a little tidbit about me also, I have a shoe room with over 432 pairs of shoes.
What?
I'm a diehard fashionista. Yes. Yeah.
That's a whooping amount. 437?
32.
32? Can I borrow some?
Absolutely. You a size 7-8? Come on over.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the thing about me. So I've always loved fashion, and it's something that's always going to be true to my heart. And, I appreciate the fashion industry in Canada and, the intricate work that these designers do. I think it's just incredible.
Absolutely. I think what you mentioned about, giving back to this industry that you're a part of, meeting your mentor, that must have been a spectacular moment.
It was unreal.
Right?
It was unreal. And you know what? I'm fortunate to say that even Jeannie Becker was our Lifetime Achievement recipient for our Women Empowerment Awards in our first year, in our inaugural year, in 2022. And then this year, she also presented the Lifetime Achievement. She passed the torch to the new recipient this year. And she's also on our board of directors. So it's incredible to see how amazing that someone who you've always looked up to and was a mentor to you is now immersed in the things and projects that I'm working on. So it really is a blessing.
What would your advice be to young girls or young individuals who want to break into the fashion industry?
I think, honestly, mentorship is so important. So find someone that you look up to and see if you can have them as a mentor, because I think that in terms of understanding the industry, making new connections, being able to network with other people, being able to understand the intricacies of the industry is so important. And I think if you find someone who's already in that world and that can help guide you, it makes life so much easier. When I decided to freelance, I went from, I worked for a magazine, so I was kind of more behind the scenes. And so when I went into the fashion world as a freelancer, I was really overwhelmed because it's like, how do I make my mark in the industry now? How do I let people know who I am? Because before I worked behind a desk and I was, doing all of the sales and advertising and coming up with all the different ideas and campaigns in the publication. But now I'm doing my own business in the fashion world. So, I looked to people in the industry that I could look to as a mentor that helped introduce me to different individuals. And I had some really great mentors who would invite me to different events, introduce me, tell people, this is Klaudia. This is what she does. She worked at Flair magazine. She did this. She did this. And they would speak on my behalf and kind of like vouch for me, that it really allowed that transition to be really easy. And every single time I had a question, or if I needed advice about something about my career or path, or do you know somebody in manufacturing? Do you know someone in this? Being able to have someone there that you can be able to talk to, that can help guide you along the way, really helps with that trajectory of taking you to the next level. So I think it's so important to do that. So I would certainly say mentorship for sure. Find someone that you look up to. And then the other thing that I tell people is, don't be afraid to network. Go out there, go to events, introduce yourself, tell people about you. We're so shy sometimes, or so humble to be able to go places and say, this is what I do. This is who I am. And I think it's important to do that. Like, even if you are too shy to be able to do it to 10 people, okay, make a goal to yourself to go and introduce yourself to one person that night. But I think getting yourself out there and being able to make those connections is extremely important, and especially in our fashion industry, because even though Canada's big, our fashion industry is actually quite small. It really is. And I think once you start making those connections, they become like family. And that's really a beautiful experience. And, family helps each other out. So once you start to kind of make your way and make yourself known in that industry, everybody's there to help you, which is wonderful.
Absolutely. I think that's pivotal for professionals in any industry, right? Absolutely. Networking is key. I mean, I know it sounds cliche. Most people say that, your network is your net worth. But I think this cliche is true. It is your net worth.
I'm telling you, and you meet the most fascinating people. Like, you really do. Sometimes you don't know until you put yourself out there, and you meet people from all different industries, all different sectors, from all different levels. And it's incredible to be able to meet these different personalities and learn so much about them. Just like when you do, your podcast, like the incredible women that you meet. It's fascinating to be able to meet all these amazing women and see what they do and find out about their journeys and be able to make those wonderful connections. And it's the same with, when you go out to events and being able to do that as well.
Absolutely. Speaking of women empowerment, yes, let us talk about Women Empowerment Awards. Please enlighten our audience a little bit about this.
Yeah, absolutely. So this was an idea and concept that I had in 2019. It was something I really wanted to do. And at the time, I was working still with Fashion Group International, so I was busy with that. But once I finished my 2-year term with them, I saw that we had the pandemic. And I saw firsthand during the pandemic what an impact it had on women. And it was really difficult to watch, because all of the people that I knew especially in the fashion industry mainly, but you saw so many women that were laid off because their companies were non-essential businesses. Women had to leave their jobs because they had to care for their kids at home because the schools and daycares were closed. So many women lost their entrepreneurs, like in terms of their businesses. They had to close their doors with their brick and mortar. They had to try to pivot their businesses online to try to sustain their lifestyle and being able to make money every month. So it was really difficult watching all of these women just struggle to stay alive. And at the same time, I saw women really coming together as a unified front and supporting one another and being able to give shout outs to each other on social media and supporting these small businesses and really being able to list off, like, here are some really great businesses for the holidays and here's some great businesses that, you should follow. And I saw the resilience. I saw the determination. I saw women who had their children in the background and still trying to be able to do business at home and being able to keep their businesses going. And so when I saw the firsthand experience of that, and I thought, you know what, seeing the devastation of women, and I started to look at research and such, and they were saying that during the pandemic, 72% of women across Canada were either laid off or let go from their jobs, 72% compared to men. And that is a devastating number when you take a look at that type of statistic. So I wanted to do something and create something that would really be a platform for women that would allow them to be recognized for all their hard work and achievements and being able to be recognized in all different areas. So whether it be innovation, global impact, leadership, mentorship, rising star, we had all these different categories that were really specific, but to be able to recognize these incredible women with the goal in mind that we rise by lifting others. And that was our mission, is we truly believe that when you help other people rise, you rise with them. And so by creating this opportunity, this platform, it allows people to share their voices and share their journeys. It allows us to be a unified front, build bridges. And by receiving this award, we want them to be able to help them further in their businesses and careers by providing them an opportunity to have their companies spotlighted, them to be on podcasts to talk about their journeys, being able to draw more audience towards them, or potentially more sales, to be able to help them achieve the next level in their company by being recognized for their hard work. So that was the whole kind of foundation of why we created it. So coming out of the pandemic, we didn't know what to expect. I thought, okay, people might still be a little nervous about getting together and doing an awards type of thing. So we kept it very small. And we initially wanted to do 150 in our first year. Well, within a week, we sold out. So then we had to expand into a larger space and went to 250. So our first year, we sold out of 250 people. Amazing celebration. And it was so wonderful to see the impact that it had on so many of these women. And then this year, we did our second year and we had 400 women that we recognized and celebrated.
Wow.
Yeah. It's incredible. To me, the highlight of it is being able to see the difference that it makes in these women's lives and being able to hear their stories when they go up and they talk, when they receive their awards and they share their journeys and they share the struggles that they overcame. Because I'm sure with all of us, we all like to celebrate our successes, of course. But we never celebrate the small successes that it took to get to the big success. And I think sometimes we keep our head down and we're always just busy going, that even those little small successes deserve to be recognized and deserve to be celebrated. And we are I always say Canadians are so humble. We don't give ourselves the credit that we deserve. And we always wait for someone to recognize us, to say, you did a great job. And I'm so proud of you. And wow, that's amazing. But do we ever say to ourselves, you know what, Klaudia, you did a great job. That was really great. You got the sales that you wanted. You reached the goal that you did. You should be proud of yourself. We never say it to ourselves. And we never put ourselves to be recognized because we are too humble to do that. And so the whole thing about women empowerment is empower yourself first, because when you empower yourself first and you recognize your own self-worth and your value and what you bring to the table, then you're able to empower others and you're able to inspire the others to do the same. So it's really finding the empowerment within ourselves and be able to say, you know what? I deserve this. I deserve to be recognized. I deserve to be celebrated. I deserve it for all the hard work, the obstacles, the marginalization that I've gone through, just being able to recognize all the obstacles that we've overcome and be able to say, I deserve this first and foremost, and I am of value and my voice matters and I can make a contribution to society that will make an impact to others. And once we recognize that, then are we able to share that experience and be able to inspire others to do the same.
That's truly powerful, Klaudia, because women, when we succeed, I think we help our community succeed.
Absolutely.
We help our nation, our country, and world succeed. Because women, I mean, oh my God, that was really powerful. It's truly amazing what you've been able to create, and you're inspiring so many women out there. And it's going to be, I think, even more moving forward with the kind of amazing work that you're doing, right?
Well, we actually, this year we announced that we have created a foundation. So we have created a foundation which is going to be launched in 2024. And the foundation is going to be, in addition to the awards, the foundation is going to be an opportunity for women to be able to connect with other incredible women, whether we do guest panels, summits, workshops, just to be able to help women be able to take their businesses or their careers to the next level. So the whole purpose of the foundation is to be able to give back through 3 pillars that we've created, which is elevate, educate, and empower. So by elevating them in terms of mentorship with other leaders, being able to help them bring their businesses to the next level from financial grants, loans, whatever it is, educate through workshops, seminars, opportunities to be able to network with other women, and empower, which is the part where we give back to others and help others achieve the same type of success. So those are the 3 pillars that our foundation is built on. And we're really excited to be able to start the initiative next year on that.
That's wonderful. I'm looking forward to this. And if any way I can contribute to this, I would truly be privileged. I'd truly be honored.
We would love that. Thank you so much. That means a lot. Thank you.
Absolutely. And with that, I want to ask you, do you believe in universal timing? Because the esteemed guests that we've had on the podcast, on the show, they've spoken about universal timing, right? Because as ambitious people, I mean, I speak for myself as well, because I'm so driven, because coming from a refugee community, you know, as Tibetans in exile who've lost their homeland, or fatherland to be precise, what happens, Klaudia, is that a lot of young Tibetans, they feel underconfident, because for a lot of us, we've been told, and it's according to our elders and people in our community, they say that for our own good, they say survive rather than focusing on any other things, right? So, for example, for me at least, public speaking wasn't even considered to be a profession in my community, right? And so being ambitious, forget that. Being a refugee, how can you be so ambitious? How can you go for all the big things? And for me, as an ambitious person, sometimes because I want to prove myself constantly, I get really anxious. Don't we all get anxious sometimes? So do you believe in universal timing, that when the right time arrives,
I do,
everything falls into place?
I do. I really do. I'm all about the universe giving signs. I really do. I'm a huge believer in that. And I believe that everything happens for a reason. I feel in universal timing. So, you know, like I had mentioned, when I wanted to do the Women Empowerment Awards, it wasn't the right time. And then when I saw the pandemic and the effect that it had, I knew that was the right time. And so that's the thing. I think everything has its timing. You know, had I gone into the fashion industry at the very beginning, it may not have been the right time for me. But for it to be at the time that it did was when I was ready. And I think that's what it is. I think the universe knows when you're ready. And I think when certain doors open for you, or certain opportunities, I'm also a huge believer in manifestation. And I do believe that when you put positive things out there in the world of what you want and what you want to achieve, that the universe does listen and does bring that back in terms of full circle. I do believe in giving back all the time, because I believe whatever you put out in terms of energy, you get back tenfold. So I think it's always important to be able to do that. And so I do believe in universal timing for sure. I think it's important to, you know, one of the things that I have always believed is, you know, there's a saying that I always follow, which is, you know, when God gives you what you want, that's intention. When God doesn't give you what you want, that's his protection. And I think, and I do believe that. I feel like when things happen, they happen because they were intended to happen. That's the universe speaking. And when they don't happen, that's someone protecting you, saying it's not right. It's not your time yet. So that's the way that I feel with anything that I do in my life.
Would you say you're a spiritual person? Are you into spirituality?
I do. Like, I'm not heavily into spirituality, but I am a very spiritual person. I do believe in spiritual guidance and angels. And I think a lot of it is important in terms of decision making. And I feel like, every morning it's important to be able to just take that moment and think about what you're grateful for. So, whether it's meditation or whether it's just writing down the things that you're grateful for every single day, I think is really important. I think it's important before you go to bed to be able to be thankful and grateful for things that have happened, and again, I think whatever comes across that might be something that we may see as a negative opportunity a negative circumstance. We always think of it in terms of, well, what is the opportunity that comes out of this negative? What did I learn from this? What is this going to help me achieve or change down the line? So I think when we start to change our mindset and not focus on the negative aspect, but think about it in terms of what is positive that I can gain from what has happened, I think then things change in our lives. We have a pivot or a shift.
Touche. Because the guests that we've had on the podcast, they've highlighted spirituality quite often with the universal timing that they mentioned. Because at least for a lot of the guests that we've had on the show, they've mentioned spirituality in terms of it's important to maintain work-life balance. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I do think that you need that in terms of work-life balance. I think it's important to have that. Sometimes when people are constantly working all the time, 10, 12 hours, you don't get a chance to enjoy life. And then before you know it, life just goes by before you even have a chance to blink. And I think it's really important to be able to give your body a rest, your mind a rest, to be able to have the opportunity to socialize, engage with other people. So I think obviously work is very important, but you also have to take time for your own self-care, self-health in terms of taking care of your body and your soul. And I think that is so extremely important. And I think one of the things too is, and I've heard this from so many people, is during the pandemic, we really put a focus on self-care. And you've probably seen that as well, is that because everything was shut down, we had nowhere to go. We weren't allowed out of our homes. And so a lot of us, because of the mental health and, being isolated, and we weren't allowed to see family, friends and such, that we really focused on our own self-care and well-being. And I think we need to continue that no matter what path we take, to really be able to make sure that we take time for ourselves and focus on our self-care. Because I think when we have a strong body and a strong mind, then we can accomplish anything. But when we start working really hard and not taking good care of ourselves, then that's where things start to fall apart. So it's really important to be able to make sure that you do have that work-life balance for sure.
You'll be able to serve better to the world if you're able to take care of yourself.
Absolutely.
Because you got to keep your cup full before serving others, right?
Absolutely. Well, and it's interesting that you say that, because when we had Julie Black perform at our awards this year, and she did a phenomenal performance. It was funny because we had her come to sing like 2 songs, and she was so immersed in the Women Empowerment Awards, and just, she just started a huge monologue, and she talked for about 20 minutes. And it was all outpouring of love and inspiration. And one of the things that she said was, instead of you pouring out of your cup to other people so that your cup is empty, she said, give them from the overflow. And I thought that was so impactful, because it's making sure your cup is full and making sure you're good. And then you give to others the overflow, because you have to be good first in order then to be able to give to others. So it's that self-care first, which I thought was a fantastic thing that she had said. And it really resonated with so many of the women in the audience, because that's what we do. Sometimes we give so much of ourselves that our cup becomes empty, but it's not about that. It's making sure that our cup is full too, because that's what's really important. So with that, then we are at our absolute best to be able to give the overflow to others.
That's beautiful. And I completely agree with that. 100%. What is your equation of success from your vantage point? What is your idea of success? Because this is a question that I ask all my guests on the show, and everybody has had a different perspective. And that's what makes this particular subject more interesting.
For me, success is being able to see the success of others. Like, to me, it's making a difference in other people's lives. So whether I mentor someone, whether I see someone get to the next level in their career or be able to achieve wonderful things, that to me is my version of success, is really being able to know that something that has been done, that I've contributed to, whether I be a good friend to someone, whether I be a mentor, whether it's just being able to sit back and seeing the success of others, to me is so incredibly important. And I think that to me is my definition, making sure that my children are well, making sure that everyone is in good health. That to me is success, because you need good health in order to live a good life. So when I take a look at things like that, it's really more about the impact that I see in other people's lives. And if I, in some way, even in a small way, contributed to that person by motivating them, by making a new connection for them, by seeing them be able to achieve their dreams, that to me is a really heartfelt moment. And that's why I love doing the Women Empowerment Awards, is that night when I sit there at the table and I look at everyone around the room and I hear the women on stage sharing their journeys and stories of coming to Canada as an immigrant, working with their, being at the factories with their parents because there was no daycare at the time, or their parents couldn't afford daycare, and seeing what level they are achieving, and seeing them in tears being recognized by 400 women in a room that are all cheering for this person. That to me is it's a beautiful moment, and seeing that the others do well and achieve their dreams is really, for me, success.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Klaudia. Wow, pearls of wisdom right there. And everything that you've shared on this podcast in this particular episode has just been incredible. There's so much to learn from you. And as you mentioned, it's so important for people to go out there and exercise their own demons. Just go out there, conquer that fear, network with a lot of people, keep learning, keep that hunger, have a purpose. That's important, just like Klaudia, because her purpose is definitely to empower people, is to give, is to serve. And so many takeaways, but that was a quick recap for all of you. And thank you so much, Klaudia. I truly appreciate that you're here today. And thank you for sharing all your wisdom with us and your journey, of course.
My pleasure. Thank you so much again. It was such an honor to be on your podcast. So thank you so much for thinking of me. And it was a pleasure to get to know you. And I'm looking forward to having you involved next year for sure. So definitely we'll stay in touch and be able to have you a part of our awards next year.
Thank you so much, Klaudia.